Act now, my child. I'm giving you one last chance to amend your mistake and destroy the monster, or else I will do it myself. Destroy the monster, you say. Very well then. Farewell, Inquisitor. The numerous implants in the Inquisitor body all suddenly groan at once. A moment later, Xavier Calcazar perishes without so much as a scream before he can even comprehend what is happening. Damn it. We regret that we had to do this, but he posed a threat, not just to us, but to all the lives in the Koronus Expanse as well, something that we want to cherish and protect. We are ready for the most important battle of our life. Wish us luck. Nomos steps towards the shard, and the whole world explodes into terrifying whirlwind. You can hear the colors and see the touches, ice burns your hands, while fire leaves you freezing. And in the midst of this madness, you can clearly sense a battle raging, a clash of two beings, one endlessly ancient and the other endlessly young. The power of Ktan Shard is such that it redefines the very notion of power, but it has a weakness, one that you can see only now. With the Shard and its rival standing face to face, the Shard is just that, a Shard. It is incomplete, it is not whole, and it cannot be what the Ktan was before. What opposes the Shard is something entirely different, an undivided sentient being with a clear purpose in mind, akin to a well-aimed arrow. And the one who fledged this arrow and set it airborne was you. The battle goes on and on and on, outrunning the course of time, but you don't need the gift of clairvoyance to know who will emerge victorious. Ooh, that looks nice as well. The Ktan Shard was transmuted into a new form, and their name was Nomos. Possessing the power of an ancient being and nurtured by the rogue trader, the young star god watched over the expanse, their new domain, with curiosity. Gathering its bleeding worlds together again, the rogue trader dared to build something more noble and civilized in the expanse, a heaven for those drifting and unprotected in the strict hierarchy of the Imperium. It would be an unbound frontier where freedom and compassion were not wholly extinct. The shackled monster, under von Valencia's control, ensured the survival of the young utopia. The star god destroyed all who threatened its peaceful civilians and instilled fear in those of little faith. The Expanse tested the sweet fruit of freedom and tolerance with reverent fear. The Imperium could not forgive such an insolent deviation from the order prescribed by Holy Terra. The von Valencia's dynasty was accused of the seditious formation of their own empire. An invasion fleet gathered in the Calixis sector, and the lifespan of the young utopia was as short as its creators. Protecting the young kingdom of freedom, Nomos created dimensional barriers that cut the Koronus Expanse off from the Imperium more soundly than the Great Rift. The humanity of the Expanse was left in isolation, relying only on themselves. They either had to build something new and different from the Imperium or fail to the horrors hiding in the dark. The ideals that I committed to were alien to the Imperium but close to the hearts of many in the Expanse. Anyone who could resolve a dispute or who was denied justice rushed to the palace of the rogue trader in search of mercy. Chorda. Having lost its leader and having no worthy successor, the Chorda dynasty began falling into ruin. The grim legacy of the abominable Espis revealed itself and the Protectorate fell into chaos. Hungry contenders tore the defenseless Demesne apart. Caligos. The cruelty and wrath of Caligos came to an end. Only then did the many terrified witnesses of his vile crimes step forward to recount them. Memories of the good, prosperous years for the Protectorate under the wise rule of Caligos Winterscale were eclipsed by the legacy of his innumerable and bloody crimes. Yvain Winterscale underwent his magna accessio and became a new rogue trader. Many said that the noble Yvain lacked firmness of judgment, yet he had more than enough trust, even for those who were unworthy of it. The young rogue trader did not forget those who saved him from the Raikat system, or the favors that House von Valancius bestowed upon the Winterscales. The cult of Saint Drusus contained its persistent struggle to spread the faith around the Expanse and expose the wild transgressions of the authorities. The stronger and wealthier a planet was, the less its rulers wanted to see the black-clad preachers. Riots and assassinations pushed the cult to the place where it felt most confident, the frontier. Hieronymus de la Rosa remained the most revered priest of the cult of the Saint Drusus. He turned no one away, hearing confessions from pirates, hold rats, deserters, and beggars. It might have been one of those undeserving wretches who infected him with a rare form of leprosy, to which he lost his sight, yet his heart could always see the corruption in the souls of his repenting children. In the following years, the Connaissance fleet slowly and deliberately left the explored systems of the Expanse for the furthermost remote regions. Observation stations and claimed worlds were left empty, and even Euphrates II fell into abandonment. Statistical divination warned the fleet's conclave of the grim events awaiting the Expanse, and they decided to deliver their fellows from the coming storm, yet they did not share the truth with the lay people. The schism of discontinuing the cycle engulfed the entire Connaissance fleet, and soon the civil war was over. Disregarding the commandments of their forefathers, the explorators started down a dangerous path of new comprehension, creation, and revision of procedures and algorithms. The fleet was united once more, and in its unity, it was ready to stare down any horrors standing in the way of the catechism of maintenance and operation. Magus Dominus Opticon 22, one of the first to hail the return of the Messiah, took the helm of the mother squadron of the Connaissance fleet. Unquestionably embracing the teachings of discontinuing the cycle, he personally saw to the crushing of any renegades who did not accept the Messiah's word as truth, and earned himself the identifier of Chrome Scourge. The crisis in the Expanse dealt a serious blow to the business interests of the Fellowship of the Void. Having no powerful allies, they retreated into the darkness of frontier systems. They were met with a hard life that forced them into new tribe, furious, wild, and willing to do anything for survival. They swore to return and retake what once was theirs. For many years, old Ryza presided over the captains of the Fellowship. At the end of her life, she once again took the helm of a ship and led an unprecedented attack on the mother squadron of Connaissance fleet, during which the attackers managed to seize a dozen transport ships loaded with sacred sacraments to the Omnissiah. Blood-eye. Violence throughout the Expanse made many more careful, and as a result, the Kasbali commission business was declining. Soon, rumors surfaced among the coal traders about a so-called inspection that got through the Maw and into the Expanse. Its professed role was to audit assets and take measures to revise the operation. These words carried with them an ominous threat. The Imperial Navy was wary of the rise of the von Valancius. They saw themselves as dogs guarding the flock of the Emperor's subjects, and there was a new master of the pack. Therefore, the dynasty was watched with utmost diligence, and the admirals feared that one day they would have to go to war against the rogue trader. Chartist Captain Austerius Thorfast founded the Thorfast and Companions Merchant Company, excelling in trade and acquiring a substantial escort fleet. After 3 decades, he traveled to the Maw to return to the Imperium in hopes of obtaining the fabled warrant of trade. It is not known how this venture ended. When the rogue trader apostasy became apparent, the Imperial Navy fulfilled its duty and fought the von Valancius dynasty. The Battle of Dargonus ended in resounding defeat, and the surviving ships fled to distant systems. Disheartened but not broken, the captains vowed to rebuild their force and planned raids in the apostate territory. Dargonus grew and prospered until it became the capital of the Koronus Expanse. The planet was like a giant magnet whose pull held together the worlds of the Expanse, absorbing the treasures and vices of the sector. Dargonus became the bastion of order in the Expanse. From here, punitive expeditions were dispatched to tainted worlds, and entire spires were occupied by officials and bureaucrats of the Imperium. On many planets, the expression of a man from Dargonus soon came to mean a fearsome inspector with the power to impose punishment. Yava Gamma washed off the stain of its former defilement, but not the dark memory of it. The sacred halls were never silent, and the production raids became the supreme law. The glory of the Imperium was forged in the blood and sweat of its toilers, and the milestones of the Manufactorum's ground the workers down by the thousand. Even in death, the souls of its servants dare not step away from their machines. Kiava Gamma grew and new Manufactorums were founded. Until disturbing reports started to trickle in many years later, it seemed that someone had secretly taken control of the colony, shrouding it in a tangle of conspiracy. Neither inquiries nor threats to tech priests or executions helped. Someone in the shadows was weaving their web and making secret plans. Xenos was conquered, the Xenos spirits were exorcised, and the wilderness was subdued. The fields grew until they covered the entire planet, and billions of tons of provisions were harvested there. Xenos had become the breadbasket of the Expanse, and to threaten it would be to condemn millions to starvation. The nobility of the Expanse appreciated the idyllic conditions of the pearl-like paradise world, while castles rose above the agri complexes in their mud, and the shining knights of Xenos gifted the sector with many a hero who covered themselves in glory. Vibos 6 grew deeper and deeper, and soon the planet became the darkest and most frightening colony of the Expanse, the final stop for the exiled and the damned. The brutal, hardened inhabitants of a dead world feared neither humans nor Xeno horrors, knew no mercy, and were known as the most fearsome fighters in the sector, who had traded their lives for the right to leave the eternal darkness of the mines. Guarded, luxurious palaces were built under the climate domes, shrouded by clouds of poison. They housed so many powerful blackguards, persecuted aristocrats, and wealthy scoundrels that Vibos 6 gained unimaginable political influence. Such grand and sinister deeds were done there that before long the grim dead world was spoken of as the new political center of the Expanse. No longer secluded and forlorn, Palstone turned into the spiritual center of the Expanse, clad in golden power. Rulers went there to be anointed for greatness, criminals for penance, and righteous for encouragement. There was no end to them in sight. Treasures and influence quickly corrupted the supreme hierarchs of Palstone, turning them in a coterie of venal egotists anointed by greed. As they did dirty deeds under the cover of holy vestments, their power steadily grew. It is hardly surprising that a few years later the hierarchs of the Falstone recognized the blood relationship between their patrons, the von Valancius dynasty, and Sam Cornatius himself. The fate of the pure-voiced prophet, guardian of the hallowed crucible, was a sad one. After visiting 7 worlds and bestowing the blessing of transformation upon them, he perished at the hands of the bloodthirsty Drukhari pirates along with his retinue and the priceless relic. Really, he got lost. After recovering from Chorda regime, Footfall reclaimed its status as trading hub of the Expanse. Having learned a bitter lesson, Vladimir Tokara created Footfall Partisans Militia, a well-equipped mercenary army that answered only to him. A sliver of order returned to Footfall. The changes that the von Valancius dynasty brought to Footfall remained on a station long after. Poorhouses opened by the order of the rogue traders saved many hungry and homeless from death. Unfortunately, this broke the station's delicate ecosystem. No longer freezing to death in empty compartments or tormented by epidemics, those who lived in poverty and Footfall began to choke the station, leading to a sharp rise in crime. Organ traders, illegal arithmetic specialists, and savage gangs of envers proliferated. Left without a sun, the Raikad system ceased to exist. Its now frigid planet spun away into the darkness, no longer held by gravitational pull of the star. A century later, a fragment of Raikad minorities entered the Furibundus system and was snared by void miners. A piece of its rock was delivered to Footfall with reverence and used in the restoration of the God Emperor statue as a final memorial to the world devoured by corruption. With the fall of their unholy patron, the Edge of Daybreak, the cult of the Final Dawn perished as well. Every cell of the cult was hunted down and eliminated. Rumors that some worshippers of the ruinous powers had managed to get away, hiding the writing of their war-banished lord under their robes, were baseless and unfounded. Left without a mission or a leader, the word-bearers retreated to the depths of the Immaterium. Their last act of vengeance was a bloody assault on Footfall. The populace of several asteroids was exterminated or enslaved, and the statue of the God Emperor was badly damaged. Rumors of the rotting remains of an Eldari craft world traveled around the Expanse. Explorators, privateers, Kazbelika agents, and anyone hungry for easy money all rushed to the frontier systems to vie for peace or the prize. Some were swallowed by the warp, others clashed and perished in ruthless skirmishes. The most skilled and fortunate returned empty-handed after decades of searching. The colossal ship, as big as an imperial world, simply vanished, as if it never existed. But the legend of forbidden treasure lived on and brought more daring souls to ruin. When the news of the death of the Master of Flesh reached him, Sharon K sent what was left of the Eldari ships to the most distant stars of the Expanse. There, hidden from human eyes with xenotech and sorcery, the Eldari carried on their humble existence and even managed to establish a few contacts, some untrusted monkey who helped the Xenos in return for knowledge and technology. Eldari from the fallen craft world Krudara, who once traveled through the darkness of the Expanse in a desperate attempt to gather the remains of their kind, were becoming a rarer sight. Even the most skillful Kazbalika agents and audacious bounty hunters with knowledge of Xenos settlements on the edges of the Expanse could no longer find their trail. Squads of Eldari rangers suddenly appeared in different worlds and disappeared abruptly, without shedding a drop of blood. Their purpose remained an enigma. Somewhere in the inverse of the universe lay Komora, woven from manifold other dimensions and illuminated as always with the light of stolen suns, its streets ever filled with screams and agony. Any misfortune experienced by the Dark City became another scar on its appealing face, lost among thousands of other vile blemishes. As long as pain pulsed in its black-soaked spires, the insatiable and unshakable Komora continued its flight through the webway, along with its unchanging ruler, the leader of Cabal, of the Black Heart, and the most dangerous of all Drukari, Asdrubal Vect. After the rogue trader visit, dimensional rifts open around the spire of the Living Tempest, flooding the streets of Komora with demons. This incursion terrified the Dark City. The Cabal of the Black Heart managed to stop it, but some Archons saw the event as a sign of their leader's weakness. Others interpreted this as a grim omen for the entirety of the Dark City. The fall of the Cabal of the Living Tempest unraveled Komora for a brief and bloody moment. The elites of the Dark City put their squabbles aside and found a new game in tearing apart the domain of Arconi Rimeres. The fate of the Living Tempest reminded other Cabals nothing is permanent in the Dark City but the city itself. Leaving the Necron systems behind, the Star God vengefully obliterated every tomb world of the ancient Xenos race. The ancient hatred of Cthon, betrayed by their deathless servants, whispered inside it. The voice of Waxmaster Vigdis Suriota of the Toliman dynasty has long resounded in the Expanse, bringing hope and trumpeting the arrival of the merciful rogue trader. Known for her wisdom and acute understanding of ship systems, she taught many generations of future Waxmasters from the Toliman dynasty in her long life. Her body was built into the bridge itself, and in times of need, her voice flowed through the Vox, dispelling delusions and despair. After years of dedicated service, Master Helmsman Reivor was granted, despite his objections, the privilege of rest. The wise servants of the Omnissiah implanted an augment into his brain that returned him the ability to sleep. Soon afterwards, something unprecedented happened aboard the ship. The Master Helmsman overslept and missed the start of his watch, but his temper did become much more agreeable from then on. Many years later, Denrock asked to resign. He said that age had softened his heart and that a more worthy, young and assertive successor should take over his position. There was no shortage of candidates. Under all that fat, Denrock had a sentimental heart. He spared nothing for the orphans of those who had died serving the rogue trader. The children had been given an excellent education and were eager to serve the one who ends his dynasty. Urban Drivestem cared more about preserving the influence of his lineage than the well-being of the Protectorate. His blind ambition lost him his governor's seat and the respect of his family. Within a few generations, one of the largest houses of Dargonus turned into a husk of a family of petty aristocrats. Gaprax missed the moment when her family, previously organized like a well-oiled machine, started to fall apart, harrowed by infighting. Among her distant relatives, many blamed Turiana for the Kiava Gamma disaster. Soon the Gapraks splintered into combative factions and spent centuries locked in a violent struggle, only occasionally punctuated by futile attempts to reunite the house. Sourbeck was loyal to the rogue trader to the last, despite all the rumors to the contrary. Not finding affection among his subjects or family, he stayed true to himself, remaining a forthright, severe, and pious person. Macarius strived to ensure that every soul in his charge felt justifiable dread before both him and the God Emperor. Regina Sourbeck, sugar-tongued loyalty to the rogue trader prompted many crude rumors. The gossip stopped one day when the Sourbecks' cold bodies were found in their bedroom. It is widely believed that they became victims of the machinations of their distant relatives, yet some tongues whispered that before that the hands of Macarius, pierced by poisoned blade, broke the slender neck of his dear wife. Members of House Verserian served the dynasty faithfully and loyally, amassing more and more power. A century later, they finally gained the respect enjoyed by other noble houses, yet power and luxury can dull any blade. The pampered and idle aristocrats could hardly be recognized as the descendants of the formidable Seneschal Verserian. As it is, one builds, the next generation destroys. For reason unknown, members of the Verserian family found themselves time and time again as targets of assassinations, victims of unpredictable riots, and the focus of palace intrigue. The misfortune that plagued their house suddenly stopped when Macarius Sourbeck met his end. Clementia, daughter of Abelard and Chancellor of Dargonus, executed her office irreproachably and even found time to school the younger generations of her family. She was equally good at mentoring, doing her job, and navigating intrigue. After a century of immaculate service, she surprised everyone by leaving her position and becoming the first mate on a trade ship. She would later admit, like a true Verserian, that she had always had a passion for ships and voidfaring. Branches of House Gaprak and Verserian became intertwined for a time after the marriage of Astarsha and Vicent. To the great sadness of the couple and the great amusement of the spiteful Dargonus nobility, their marriage bore no children. Just like her ancestors, Astarsha Verserian Gaprak dedicated her life to service. Crushed by the events that shook the stability of a house and his inability to leave an heir, Vicent lived in the shadow of his wife. When the time came, he passed away without notice. Nocturne of Oblivion visited the Expanse once again. Sneaking onto Dargonus, he came to the rogue trader palace and left a special gift with him, a case of Eldari make, unmistakably ancient and precious, adorned with the rune of an eye inside a triangle. Only the Lord Captain knew what it held. The Harlequin candidly warned him that he was pulling the von Valencius dynasty into a dangerous dance, a shaking doom which will freeze the world under terror loom. Then he promptly departed, and not without reason. A couple of hours later, assassins from the Dark City appeared, following his trail, and were mercilessly killed. Their armor bore the sign of the Cabal of the Black Heart. After months of searching, Dargonus guards found the remains of Achilles' calendar on the lowest levels of the hive. Yukari artifacts and records found beside him indicated that the agent of the Inquisition was compromised and had been working for the Xenos. Marajai confirmed the guilt of the deceased Inquisition agent and described in detail the torture he inflicted upon the poor soul to gain his obedience and loyalty. He confirmed as well that Irli had found and killed his monkey toy. Yet, few chose to believe the words of the cursed Xenos, and thus the secret of death of Achilles' calendar was not brought to the public. The old slit Meles did not risk returning to Comora, where the cult of the Fatal Thirst took its vengeance on everyone who had helped the rogue trader. He took to piracy, forming a crew from the remnants of the Raving Tempest. Rekindling his old thirst for battle seemed to shed a good century of his age like a snakeskin. The savage deeds that Gorde Schiato witnessed on Footfall traumatized him forever. His architectural genius was shattered. Only the rare collections of true connoisseurs held his work, written in shaky hand. Footfall, the ultimate void station and mortuary. Adelia Belardo, the granddaughter of pirate Jerry Candance Belardo, grew up to be quick-witted and energetic captain, since her guardian, who went simply by chaplain, knew only three things in life: fate, slaughter, and voidfaring. He advised her to invest her inheritance into a void ship. Her trade, Clipper Snake, traveled to all the settled worlds of the Expanse, to many uncharted ones as well. In all the time that Adelia Belarda was captain, her ship never fired a single shot at civilian vessel. Having completed his last journey with the Lord Captain, Abelard Verserian, by gracious permission of the rogue trader, left the post of the Seneschal and took the helm of his large family. House Verserian rose above its rivals and was never the target of persecution again, even after their honored patriarch died decades later in his bed surrounded by grieving loved ones. So Abelard died. The bright memories of Abelard were darkened only by rumors of crawling madness in the twilight of his life. Many said they saw the honored Seneschal talking to someone unseen, with a voice filled with unusual tenderness and sorrow. He was talking to Theodora, or to his late wife. Even the events on Epitaph could not silence the call in Argenta's soul for the mysterious relic that she so eagerly sought. She left the rogue trader retinue and embarked on a solitary pilgrimage in search of Sally's prime. Her fate from then on is unknown. The Mercatium Tabula Officiale opened an ocean of possibilities for Jaya Heydari. Leaving the Kasbalika mission, she became an independent player. Choosing your own destiny is a unique gift that simple mortals would never dare dream of, but Jaya always wished for it. She found new friendly, skillfully danced the knife edge between trade and piracy, stole from the strong, granted mercy to the weak, and even bought a couple of modest planets. And she never ever betrayed herself. Half a century later, a fledgling rogue trader, whose name is now forgotten, brutally crushed Jaya, accusing her of abusing power. The new rogue trader conquered her worlds, exterminated her people, and used everything in her power to wipe Jaya's name and vulgar deeds from the Expanse memory. No happy endings, even though this is the happiest ending, I guess out of all endings there is no happy ending for anyone. Heinrich von Kellogg's, the former interrogator of Lord of Xenos, took the mantle of the Lord Inquisitor after his mentor's death, receiving both the Inquisitor's rosette and the duty to defend the sector from the enemies of humanity. Von Kellogg's became a new warden of the Expanse. Heinrich declared a relentless war against the enemies of humanity, Xenos, servants of chaos, or heretics among the Imperium ranks. Inquisitor fearlessly eliminated numerous nests of corruption in the Expanse. Decades later, he was assassinated. No one survived! They all died, man! Decades later, he was assassinated by a criminal cartel. Some say Kasbalika mission Siko, unrelenting servant of the law, was connected to his death. Cassia. After her travels with Rogue Trader, Cassia Orselio returned to the bosom of her house, where her circle and the Great Regent declared her the new Novate. Used to rallying on the Lord Captain for everything, Cassia became an obedient servant of the Von Valencius dynasty, making every effort to help her friend and mentor, even when doing so hurt the interests of House Orselio. Years later, a wave of brutal murders washed over House Orselio. Unknown assailants butchered navigators, carving the atlases from their chests. Probably Eldari. Without an iron will or any particular zeal for giving orders, Novator Cassia was not able to build a sufficient bulwark around her rule, and disgruntled members of House Orselio decided to rebel. They set out to depose Lady Cassia and install a worthy protector on the throne instead. Their plan on behalf worked. To avenge Cassia's death, the rogue trader brutally crushed everyone who bore the Orselio name. Cassia died as well. Holy shit. Despite scandalous rumors about a love affair with rogue trader Lady Navigator, Cassia accompanied her lover among the stars of the Expanse for a time. Their love was like a candle flame, warm, tremulous, insatiable, and fleeting. When Cassia took the throne as Novator, love gave way to duty. Some praised their doomed love or over glasses of Amasek, others cursed it and spat in disgust. Yet even after her arranged marriage and after she had passed on her precious genes, Cassia kept in contact with the only person she'd ever fully loved until her last day. Novator Cassia Orselio and Rogue Trader entered into marriage, securing a powerful alliance. Sadly, their countless concerns and responsibilities prevented the spouses from seeing each other, keeping them apart for months and sometimes years. Even without passion or love in marriage, they truly held great respect for each other. Idira lived several more years after the rogue trader Grand March on Epitaph. Despite her short life, she left behind many legends and tales of her adventures in the Lord Captain's service, and of the terrible warp phenomena that she manifested. By announcing the discontinuing of the cycle, the Amarnath Collective instilled terror in the hearts of those who revere the theorems of purity, but it gave hope to others. Having gathered its disciples and recruited servo-soldiers from feudatory planets, it ventured to the worlds of the Screaming Vortex, to the infernal forges of the Dark Mechanicus. This march of re-indoctrination was meant to seize the stolen secrets of the Omnissiah from the hands of the heretics, temper the cult in the fire of battle, and transform it into a tool for both eradication and comprehension. The fleet disappeared in the darkness, and only rare echoes of its messages were ever intercepted. The Judith, the able Hanuman, continued his service of the Amarnath Collective. In unity with 5 compeers, he rediscovered the joy of direct cognitive communication unstained by inborn otherness. While outwardly silent, he joyfully described the images, concepts, and ideas that the Omnissiah opened to him. Fulfilling his function, he overflowed with the exultation of efficiency. For many long years, Irliet traveled at the rogue trader's side, helping him decipher the secret of lost Xenos races and lending him wisdom of her people. Half a century later, she sensed that it was time to say goodbye. The path of the outcast had come to an end. After bidding farewell to her Elenta, Irliet made her way to the surviving kins. Irliet followed a new path, the path of the warrior. She only hoped it would never force her to raise arms against the mortals who would become true comrades to her. Rumor had it that Irliet and Pascal met again among the alien stars. A band of Eldari warriors were trying to protect an ancient planetary edifice of their people from the covetous servants of the Omnissiah. Upon learning that Irliet was leading the Xenos, Pascal personally descended to the planet and struck down his former comrade in arms. Her death did not stir any feelings in his metallic heart. Pascal killed Irliet. Marajai, also known as the Death of the Tempest, spent several years with a rogue trader, filling the entire crew with terror. However, with the time, his restless and ambitious nature got the better of him. Having grown weary of the company of Monkey, the Drukhari left the ship. Soon after, the Expanse saw a new mercenary group, a motley army of humans and Xenos led by the bloodthirsty and ruthless Drukhari leader. Years later, Marajai's name resounded through the Expanse once more. His gang had intercepted a Starsha Versarian ship. Her head was delivered to Abelard with a note informing him that it was a gift from an old acquaintance in remembrance of a glorious past. Abelard's grief sent him on a 6-year-long hunt for the despicable Xenos, which sadly was unsuccessful. Holy fuck with this. After burying his brothers, Ulfar felt the weight of exhaustion and loss on his shoulders. His loyalty to the Old Father was strong, but his heart had suffered much in decades of battle. Unable to break his vows, he continued to sing the saga of his pack alone, the last of the baleful Howl. There are hundreds of legends and myriad of worlds about the Lone Wolf. Covering his armor with a great cloak, he would appear and vanish again, leaving only the corpses of unrighteous behind. Stories were crafted about the mysterious Avenger, and hundreds of young heroes, wolflings, went after him. Ulfar did not call on them. He did not remember their names and did not mourn for them. He longed only for an honorable death, but could not find it. He always survived. He's cursed, always surviving. Thorvald Ironhide led the Stormbiters for decades, exterminating evil in the Expanse and adding glorious visor to the saga of his pack. When he fell, his successor, Halbrand, decided it was time for the wolves to return home and led the pack into the Maw. Whether they were successful in returning to Fenris is unknown. It is rumored that the true cause of Thorvald Ironhide's demise was treachery. Faced with superior enemy, the Space Wolves called on their allies for help, but a nearby squadron of Connison's fleet withdrew, defiantly broadcasting that the blood debt to the Archmage Amarnath is not forgotten. Such was the echo of the deeds of the rogue trader of the von Valancius dynasty. These that transformed the Expanse and prepared it for events even darker and more violent. But those are the events of a different story. This one has come to an end. Basically, happy ending for Koronus Expanse. Not a happy ending for companions, okay? But a happy ending for a Koronus Expanse. In other words, it's brutal. Everyone died. I mean, Marajai killed Abelard's daughter or granddaughter, sent him her head. Man, I should have killed him on spot. But I wanted to see all companions, eh? I should have killed the fucker on sight, man. On spot, there, when I met him. Insta-kill. Then Pascal killed Irliet. Holy shit. Basically the best ending. Imagine how the worst ending looks like if this is the best ending. In other words, what they wanna tell you is there is no happy ending in 40k. There's always only death. But the entire Koronus Expanse is in a way much better state than it was when I started. Okay, when you take the mantle of a rogue trader, everything is falling apart. And once the game ended, Koronus Expanse prospered. Which is huge. I liked it. I don't know about you people and what you think about the ending. I mean, if this is the happy ending, imagine the bad ending. Imagine the bad ending, man. Come on. Probably not a single star survives in the Koronus Expanse, and that freaking thing collects its shards, becomes whole again, and goes straight for the Imperium to conquer it. Okay, that's probably the worst ending imaginable. Because he soaks up stars to empower himself. Basically, Koronus Expanse would be the black screen. That's the worst ending. What also surprised me, the next rogue trader that came after me killed Jaya Heydari, man. You see how there is no happy ending? She owned planets and whatnot, became influential, and she prospered. And then the next rogue trader, the next SL comes and easily kills her. Everything that you built, someone takes a shit on it. Okay, when you're gone, someone takes a shit on it. That's how it works in real life as well. Okay, someone makes billions, then he creates two idiot sons that gamble it all away, spend on whores, and there goes the money. Same shit for Jai, same shit for me. You build something and then it falls apart when you're not there. For the Koronus Expanse, this is the best outcome. Because it's not about you. You know, when you have the classic stories in video games and so on, you know, main villain, become this, become that, and so on. This is not about it at all. It's about whether you're gonna save the entire sector of Koronus Expanse or not. Whether you're gonna save stars and planets or not. Whether you wanna destroy them or not. How everything reflects with your actions that you took throughout the entire game. Now, probably this is gonna be 10 times more detailed in a year from now when they release the Emperor's Edition with DLCs and whatnot. It's gonna be a huge game in time, okay? With way much more consequences than they got right now. They got plenty of consequences, different endings, depends on who you took as a companion, how you acted on them, how you finished their quests. But it's gonna get even bigger than this, like 2 times bigger, I guess, until we get the final version. And that's gonna be probably 2025. And I also believe that I'm the very first person that finished the game on unfair difficulty. Worldwide. Among the first, for sure. First on the freaking internet. I don't know if someone finished it offline, but I am the first that did it online. For sure. There is no way anyone finished this game before me on unfair. I mean, most of my fights that you can see uploaded right now on the internet on the unfair difficulty from Chapter 4 and Chapter 5, it's only me and no one else. No videos exist, man. People are still in Act 1, Act 2. But check out in a game, I don't know, I haven't checked. Yeah, this is probably world first unfair. Yeah. Yeah, I guess there is no one that finished this. Let's see. But there is no freaking way, okay. I'm the first for sure. Rogue Trader, unfair, final boss. No one did it, man. When you type final boss, it's my Chaos Marine, Chaos Spawn. You're alone, Aurora. That's what you get when you type final boss.